The possibility of a nuclear war happening looks to be a reality with every day that passes. I mean, just look at some of the headlines that have been coming out. The Independent has reported Sweden is now preparing hundreds of nuclear bunkers amid fears of a Russian attack. The Hill have reported, have we forgotten the Cold War? Nuclear threat more real now than ever. The VOA has reported that U.S. nuclear sub arrived in South Korea amid North Korean threat. And look at the Star. They're revealing that America's secret nuke plan with reports showing urgent prep for disaster has been unveiled. Also, the Independent has reported an update concerning Britain, the United Kingdom. It says here Britain would be literally erased from the face of the earth if it launched a nuclear attack, quoting a Russian MP. Along with that, Britain has responded and now stating that they could use a nuclear weapon as a first strike. Also, we have Newsweek reporting Japanese is now preparing for war with North Korea with nuclear shelters and air purifiers to thwart radiation. I mean, look at what the U.S. Secretary of State of the U.S., Rex Tillerson, has stated even about Iran along with North Korea. I want to play the soundbite.
Afternoon all. The Trump administration is currently conducting across the entire government a review of our Iran policy. Today I'd like to address Iran's alarming and ongoing provocations that export terror and violence, destabilizing more than one country at a time. Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism and is responsible for intensifying multiple conflicts and undermining U.S. interest in countries such as Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Lebanon, and continuing to support attacks against Israel. An unchecked Iran has the potential to travel the same path as North Korea and take the world along with it. The United States is keen to avoid a second piece of evidence that strategic patience is a failed approach. A comprehensive Iran policy requires that we address all of the threats posed by Iran, and it is clear there are many.
Also, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists are now stating it is 2.5 minutes to midnight. 2.5 minutes, folks. Listen, don't let them fool you. You know, the Lord is making it clear we're living in the 11:59 prophetic time clock of God. We are living in the last days. So how do you survive a nuclear attack? How can we? Is it possible? Well, let's take a look. According to wikihow.com, it says here the Cold War ended over 2 decades ago, and many people have never lived under the shadow of nuclear and radiological threats. Still, a nuclear attack is a very real threat. Global politics are far from stable, and human nature has changed none in the last 2 decades. The most persistent sound which reverberates through man's history is the beating of war drums. As long as nuclear weapons exist, there's always the danger that they will be used. So is nuclear war survivable? Only predictions exist, as some say yes, others say no. Keep in mind that modern thermonuclear weapons are many hundreds, and in the case of the largest weapons, several thousand times more powerful than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, we really do not fully understand what will happen when thousands of weapons are detonated at the same time. For some, especially in those large population centers, it may seem like an entirely futile endeavor. If it is survived at all, it will be by those who are mentally and logistically prepared for such an event and that live in a very remote area with no strategic difference. So let's look at the first one, preparing in advance. The first thing you want to do is make a plan. If a nuclear attack does happen, it won't be safe to venture outside for food. You should stay sheltered for at least 48 hours or longer. Now you may say, why would it not be wise to go out for food? Can't I go shopping to the grocery store? Maybe pick up some extra food and water if I know a nuclear missile may have just hit at a major city in the state that I'm in? Absolutely not. You have to be concerned and be wary of fallout. Fallout is the radiation after a nuclear warhead is launched. Having food and medical supplies on hand can put your mind at ease and allow you to focus on other aspects of survival. Now, please let me also share with you, number 2, you want to stock up on non-perishable food items. Non-perishables can last several years, whether it's in storage or in sustaining you after a nuclear attack. Choose items that contain a lot of carbohydrates so you can get more caloric bang for your buck. And store them in a cool, dry place. You can see some examples here of canned goods, some sugar, some beans, some pasta, some rice, some beans, some honey. This would not be the time for you to get on a diet or to go paleo at all. You want to be as full of carbohydrates as possible during this time. Build up your supply slowly when it comes to stockpiling in case of an emergency, in this case a nuclear attack. Now, every time you go to the grocery store, pick up 1 or 2 more items for your food storage. Eventually, you should be able to build up a multi-month supply. Make sure as well, folks, that you have a can opener to open up those cans. Very important. Number 3, you want to make sure that you have plenty of water. You want to consider keeping a water supply in food-grade plastic containers. Clean the containers with a bleach solution, then fill them with filtered and distilled water. 1 person equals 1 gallon of water per day. Now, for purifying the water in the event of an attack, keep basic household bleach and potassium iodide on hand. The 4th thing you want is communication supplies. Being able to stay informed as well as alerting others to your position can be vitally valuable during a nuclear attack, or I should say after one. Here's what you want to get. A radio. Try to find one that's a crank radio or a solar powered radio. Now, if you have to go with a battery operated model, be sure to keep spare batteries on hand. And even solar powered can be a little bit tricky because you're not going to be charging this thing in the sun. Again, you're going to be staying indoors. So the one that I would recommend to you would be a crank radio, a ham radio. Consider getting an NOAA weather radio as well. This will broadcast emergency information 24 hours a day. Also, you want to get a whistle. You can use this to signal for help. And your cell phone. Cell service may or may not be maintained in the case of a nuclear attack, and may not be maintained, especially because it could absolutely trigger what's called an electromagnetic pulse. But you'll want to be ready if it is. If somehow, the Lord opens up the lines for you. And I mean that. If you can find a solar charger for your model. The 5th thing you want to do is stock up on medical supplies. Having a few medical items available could be the difference between life and death. If you're injured in the actual nuclear attack, you'll need, number 1, a basic first aid kit. You can purchase these. They come pre-packaged, or you can make one yourself. Make sure you have sterile gauze, some bandages, some antibiotic ointment, some latex gloves, some scissors, some tweezers, a thermometer, and a blanket. Also, you want a first aid instruction booklet. Purchase one from you can purchase one from an organization like the Red Cross, or you can even assemble your own with materials that you print off from the internet. You should know how to bandage wounds, administer CPR, treat shock, and treat burns. Also, prescription medications or supplies. If you take a specific medication every day, try to make sure you have a small emergency supply built up. The 6th thing you want is flashlights and other miscellaneous items such as duct tape and tools and wrenches and pliers. Round out your emergency preparedness kit with the following: a flashlight and batteries, dust masks, plastic sheeting and duct tape, garbage bags, plastic ties, and wet wipes for personal sanitation, a wrench and pliers to shut off utilities such as gas and water. The 7th thing you want is to keep an eye on the news. Now, in these times, you're being told, don't listen to the news, and you don't know what is the right news, what's the bad news, what's the true news, what's the fake news. Listen, during the time of a national emergency, you're going to need to tune into some news. So a nuclear attack will unlikely come out of the blue from an enemy nation. Such an attack would likely be preceded, just as we're looking at right now, folks, by a deteriorating political situation. Again, just as what we're seeing in today's headlines. A war with conventional weapons between nations that both have nuclear weapons, if not ended swiftly, may escalate towards nuclear war. And even limited nuclear strikes in one region carry the likelihood to escalate towards an all-out nuclear war elsewhere. Wow. Also, many countries have what's called a rating system. We here at the U.S. have that rating system to detonate the imminence of an attack. In the USA and Canada, for example, it may be useful to know the DEFCON, D-E-F-C-O-N, DEF meaning defense and CON meaning condition. So what is our defense condition level in the United States and Canada along with other nations? Number 8, you want to assess your risk and evaluate if a nuclear exchange is looking likely. Now, if an evacuation is not an option, just as it will be for many, then it should at least affect the kind of shelter you will construct for yourself. Learn your proximity to the following targets and plan appropriately. For instance, airfields and naval bases, especially those known to house nuclear bombers, ballistic missiles, submarines, or ICBM silos. These are certain to be attacked, even in a limited nuclear exchange. Commercial ports and runways over 10,000 feet long. These are likely to be attacked even in a limited nuclear exchange and certain to be attacked in an all-out nuclear war. Centers of government, for instance, tomorrow, Wednesday, April 26, 2017, Washington, D.C. will be conducting a terror attack drill exercise, and it's going to be one of the largest that they've had in that area, if not the largest. And so the reason why is because they see the current threats that are coming against the U.S. And so they understand, being a center of government, that they can very well be attacked in a nuclear attack. Centers of government, these are likely to be attacked even in a limited nuclear exchange and certain to be attacked in an all-out nuclear war. Large industrial cities and major population centers, these are likely to be attacked in the event of an all-out nuclear war. Here you can see a couple of the bombs. Nuclear bombs here that explain the fissions and the fusions and the H bombs and the A bombs. Learn about the type of bombs and nuclear weapons. Fissions, A bombs, are the most basic nuclear weapon and are incorporated into the other weapon classes. The A bomb right here is the one on the left side. The bomb's power comes from splitting heavy nuclei, which is the plutonium and the uranium, with neutrons. As the uranium with the plutonium split, each atom releases great amounts of energy and more neutrons. The daughter neutrons cause an extremely fast nuclear reaction. Now the fission bombs, which are the ones right here on your left side, or it's actually on my right, maybe on your left, the fission bombs are the only type of nuclear bombs used in war so far. And so this is the most likely type of bomb to be used by terrorists. Now, how do you survive an imminent attack, folks? Is it a possibility that we can survive an imminent attack? Well, let's continue. Look at that bunker right there. Some of you have this. Seek shelter immediately is the first thing you want to do. Aside from geopolitical warning signs, your first warning of an imminent nuclear attack will most likely be an alarm or warning signal. If not, it will be the blast itself. The bright light from a detonation of a nuclear weapon can be seen tens of miles away from ground zero. If within the vicinity of the blast or ground zero, your chances of survival are virtually non-existent unless you are in a shelter that provides a very good blast protection. Now listen, folks, please, I know this isn't our choice to be, this isn't our choice of broadcast to be hearing tonight, right? Or during the day, wherever you're tuning in from. But this is the reality of the hour. And so I'm asking for God's grace to be upon us. And Father, I do ask for your grace to be upon us as you continue to, as your presence continues to be with us, as you continue to be with us. as we hear what we're reading here, being led by your Holy Spirit in Jesus' name. Amen. I just wanted to take a moment to pray. Seeking shelter immediately is what you need to do in an imminent attack. Now, if you cannot find shelter immediately, seek a depressed area nearby and lay face down, exposing as little skin as possible. If there's no shelter of this kind, dig as fast as possible. Even around 8 kilometers, which is approximately 5 miles, you will suffer third-degree thermal burn. So even at 20 miles, the heat can burn. The heat of the bomb can still burn off the skin of your body. So you want to try to get indoors. Again, go down as below as possible if it is possible. For sure, what you want to do is call on the name of the Lord so that you can be saved. His name is Jesus. Second thing you want to do is remember that radiation exposure can cause large numbers of deaths, and that is the nuclear fallout after a nuclear missile has been launched. And the residual radiation, known as radiation fallout, if the detonation was a surface blast or the fireball hits the earth, large amounts of fallout occurs. The dust and debris kick into the atmosphere, rains down, bringing with it dangerous amounts of radiation. The fallout may rain down as contaminated black soot known as black rain, which is very fatal and may be of extreme temperature. Fallout will contaminate anything, and I mean anything, folks, that it touches. So that's why you want to be covered. Now, once you have survived the blast of the nuclear warhead and the initial radiation, for now at least, radiation symptoms have an incubation period. So you want to plead the blood of Jesus over you. You want to, again, call on the name of the Lord so that you can be saved and claim Psalm 91 for your family, for you and your household. I mean it, folks. Psalm chapter 91, read it. There shall be no evil that shall befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. God will have his angels to keep charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. You must find protection against a burning black soot. Here is a picture of actual radiation particles. You have alpha particles, which travel a couple of inches. You have beta particles that travels 10 meters. And then you have what's called gamma rays that could go in as far as 1 mile into actual walls. So here, again, you see the illustration. The first being paper, the second wood or aluminum, and the third being lead or iron and thick metals. Know the types of radiation particles, and you can look at this at your own time. Number 4, begin reinforcing your shelter from the inside by stacking dirt around the walls. By stacking dirt around the walls. Have your kids have a little fun. Say, kids, give me some dirt. Start packing up these walls of this particular area of the house. Now, you have to know which area that is, of course. Now, here, number 5 is to plan on staying in your shelter for a minimum of 200 hours, and that is anywhere from 8 to 9 days after the initial nuclear bomb blast. Under no circumstances, folks, leave the shelter. Under no circumstances in the first 48 hours. Now, the reason for this is to avoid the fission products that you just looked at here on the screen, created by a nuclear blast. The most deadly of these is radioactive iodine. Fortunately, radioiodine has a relatively short half-life of 8 days, the time it takes for half to naturally decay into safer isotopes. Keep in mind that even after 8 to 9 days, though, there will still be a lot of radioiodine around, so limit your exposure. It may take up to 90 days for the amount of radioiodine to decay to 0.1% of the initial amount. Number 6. Number 6, ration your supplies. You will need to ration to survive. Obviously, therefore, you will eventually expose yourself to the radiation unless you are in a specific shelter with food and water. Processed foods are okay to eat so long as a container has no punctures and is relatively intact. Animals may be eaten. See, that may be that may not sound, what you want to do. You don't want to eat your goldfish or your kitty cat Bob or your pet dog Woofy. But, you know, they may need to be eaten in a situation such as this if one is not prepared and they have their dog Woofy in the basement with them, and 5 days later they're starving. So you want to make sure you skin the animal carefully. This is crazy stuff, I know, folks, but we're talking about it. Skin it carefully with the heart, liver, and kidneys discarded. Try not to eat meat that is close to the bone, for bone marrow retains radiation. Make sure you have plenty of water, folks. Number 7, wear all clothing, hats, gloves, goggles, clothes, sleeves, shirts, etc., especially when outside, to help prevent what's called beta burns. Decontaminate by shaking your clothes constantly and washing with water. Any exposed skin, settled residue will eventually cause burns. And number 8, treat radiation and thermal burns. And again, you could read this on your own time with regards to how to treat burns and blisters and how not to break the blisters and what to do in the case of what's of a severe burn known as thermal burn. You can always pause this. I know I'm kind of going on, so you could just pause where you think you need to. Number 9. And this is totally up to you, folks. You got to be led by the Lord on this. Feel free to assist people with radiation sickness, also called radiation syndrome. This is not contagious, and everything depends on the amount of radiation one receives. So here is a condensed version of the table. Here you can see the amounts or levels of radiation that one has received. Less than 0.5. No visible symptoms, 0.05, excuse me, to 0.5, red blood cell count temporary decreased, and so forth. You can see that the higher the percentage, the more likely one will, can die from the radiation sickness. And number 10, familiarize yourself with radiation units, which is what we were looking at here on the screen. And again, you can kind of pause this if you'd like, take a look at it. It gives you an idea as to, at the percentage, what the symptoms can be during radiation sickness. I know, folks. I'm telling you, you got to get saved. You got to be born again. Your names must be written in the Lamb's Book of Life, because you're going to need Jesus. We're all going to need Jesus, something like this. We need Jesus right now, and we need him right now. Just the fact that we're looking at this. Come on. Number 11, guard critical electrical equipment against an EMP. Nuclear weapon detonated at a very high altitude, folks, can generate what's called an electromagnetic pulse. And it can be so powerful that it can destroy electronics and electrical devices across the city, states, or even nation where it was launched at. Some use what's called a Faraday cage. You want to look that up. Faraday cage to protect from EMPs. Some claim it works very well, others not so sure. And just be prepared for subsequent attacks. And what that is, that most likely a nuclear attack will not be a singular event. Be prepared for another strike or strikes by enemy nations or an invasion by the attacking party. All right, so that's that, folks. How to survive a nuclear attack. Oops. And wow, I mean, come on, we just learned a lot, right? But I got to tell you something before I let you guys go. That the number one thing, I know here it said the number one thing was to prepare in advance. On surviving a nuclear attack, you got to prepare in advance. Each and every one of us does. But even before planning with the food and the water, you got to get right with God. You got to give your lives to God. You got to give your hearts to Jesus Christ. You got to be born again, folks. Your name must be written in the Lamb's Book of Life, because whether a nuclear attack takes place, God forbid, or it's just the time for you to meet your Maker, you're going to meet him. And you want to know that you're in good standing with him. You want to know that you're going to be accepted into his arms, into his kingdom, and not be rejected. And you may say, well, how can I be rejected, Evangelist? How does that happen? Well, it happens if you reject him. He's extending his hands out to you. He's extending an invitation to you right now for you to be saved. In other words, for you to receive salvation from eternity without him. Hell is real. There's weeping and gnashing of teeth. This stuff is no joke. I know they try to play it off in the stupid commercials and guys drinking beer and bikini-clad women and, woo, hell is so fun. Woo, hell is so fun. It ain't fun. It's hell, man. It's hell. It's hell. What part of that is fun? Not one. The devil's been lying to too many people. And he thinks you're stupid. But see, you're made in the image of God. And God's handing you, he's telling you, listen, he's handing you the choice. He says, choose this day whom you will serve. I set before you life, death, blessing, or cursing. Then he tells you what to choose, just in case you don't know. He says, choose life so that you and your descendants may live. Get more information on our website, www.openyoureyespeople.com. If you're not sure how to pray to the Lord, if you're not sure what to say, listen, email me. I'd be more than happy to help you pray to the Lord, fully surrendering your entire life to Jesus Christ. You need to get right with God, and he'll accept you. He knows everything about you already. He's not offended. You know, he's not in counseling over it. He knows the good, the bad, and the ugly. He knows the secret dark sins. And you know what? He loves you anyway. You need to just surrender your life to him so that he can clean you up, get you right. He gets you right, not you get your right. He gets you right. You can't get yourself right. Let him get you right, and you'll never be the same again. You need to get right with God. God bless you. Stay tuned. Be sure to like us now. Be sure to follow us on our Facebook page. Like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The day of the Lord is at hand. God bless you.